Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome back to Oni's Fight Picks, where I make the picks, you make the cash. We're back with another UFC event. We have UFC Fight Night 47, Hermansson versus Strickland coming up. And before we get into that, let's do a little bit of a review on UFC 270, the first main fight of the year. We had not a great night, unfortunately, but we're still in the positive, so that's good. Let's get into it then. Let me preface this with I was not able to watch the fights, unfortunately. I caught glimpses here and there. So unfortunately I'm not going to be able to give a in-depth analysis of each fight and what happened. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Cody Stamann versus Said Nurmagomedov. I had all the faith in Cody Stamann, which was misplaced. I saw him go in for a takedown. He had his neck up. Said Nurmagomedov didn't even need to use his amazing kickboxing. All he did was grab that guillotine, sink it in, and he got that first round choke. So we lost the unit on that, which is unfortunate, but you know, say la vie. So it happens, life goes on. But let's move on to the fight we did pick correctly. Michel Pereira versus Andre Fialho. Michel Pereira, I had him winning. He did win via unanimous decision. It was pretty close. Fialho did pretty well. I put a quarter of a unit on Fialho just for the just for the value. But we lost that, so $25 down the drain, no big deal. Let's move on to the next one, or a quarter of a unit down the drain, no big deal. Let's move on to the next one. Brandon Moreno versus Deiveson Figueiredo. I heard this was a controversial decision. I picked Moreno to win. Deiveson was able to take the unanimous decision. I'm not sure. I will have to wait till Fight Pass comes out. I'm definitely going to watch the fight and then see if it was indeed a controversial decision. But from what I've seen online, I believe it was a controversial decision, and Moreno should retain the belt. With that being said, let's go into our main event of that evening. Francis Ngannou versus Ciryl Gane. The two big boys going at it. Ciryl Gane was my pick. He did not win. Francis Ngannou out-wrestled him in the later rounds and was able to take a unanimous decision as well. We did put a fourth of a unit on Ngannou, and we won $31 from that if we're betting at $100 units. If you followed all my bets so far from UFC 46, UFC Vegas 46, Qatar vs Chikadze, and UFC 270, we are currently up $84.75 at $100 units. So that's still good. We're in the positive. With that being said, let's move into our event for this week. UFC Fight Night Vegas 47, Jack Hermansson versus Sean Strickland. Let's get it. Our first fight of the evening is between Julian Erosa and Steven Peterson. So getting into this fight, I'm going to have to pick Julian Erosa to win this. Steven Peterson, while I was watching tape on him, I noticed that he has a very tough time dealing with southpaws who are longer than him, and Julian Erosa here has a 4-inch reach, and he is indeed a southpaw, so I believe Erosa takes this. Erosa does have a tendency to fight with his head still. He doesn't move, he stays on the line, which could be bad against Peterson. Peterson keeps the pressure, keeps on pushing, and unfortunately that bodes poorly for Erosa if he does keep his head stiff and doesn't move. But I still pick Erosa to win this. Let's get into the bets for this. I'm definitely going to pass on this. I think Erosa is too high of a favorite right now to be taking him. So I'm going to be passing on this, and I suggest you guys do too. All right, let's move on to the second fight of the night. We have the middleweights, Tresean Gore taking on Bryan Battle. There's not much information on Tresean Gore out there that I was able to find, but from what I did find, looks like a tank. He's very strong. He comes on with a lot of pressure. He hits hard. He hits fast. And from what I could tell, he's pretty damn good at the ground and pound. A lot of his fights, he was on top. He was in mount and just raining down barrage of punches on his opponent. Whereas Bryan Battle is kind of like, he comes out very awkward. His fight style is very awkward. He likes to wing punches. I don't think that's a good matchup with Gore. I think Battle does have strength on the ground though, so I don't think this fight ends on the ground, but I do have Gore with the edge here in striking, so I think Gore is going to take the fight. With that being said, I'm picking Battle for this. There's some value in Battle. I have him as a 108 underdog, but Bovada and other sportsbooks have him as a plus 135. If you can get him somewhere over the 130 range, I think Battle would be a good pick here. So I'm putting a quarter of a unit on this, and I'm hoping that Battle can pull through. Because let's win some money. That's what this is all about, right? Next, let's get into the last minute change on this card. We have Sam Alvey versus Brendan Allen at light heavyweight. This was originally supposed to be a bout between Sam Alvey and Phil Hawes at middleweight, but Phil Hawes had to back out. So Brendan Allen stepped up on very short notice, and he's going to be fighting Sam Alvey here at 205. Let's start with Sam Alvey. Sam Alvey is on a 7-fight winless streak. So this is his last chance here in the UFC. He needs this win desperately. That being said, Sam Alvey is not a bad fighter. His technique is sound. He has the basics down. He's smart when he's fighting. He doesn't make too many bad decisions. He is just on an unfortunate losing streak and one draw. But with that being said, Brendan Allen is on a tear of winning. He has been dominating his last couple fights, with the exception of Sean. What did he fight? Not Sean Strickland. Chris Curtis, sorry. With his exception of Chris Curtis, his recent fights have been all wins. And I think he is definitely going to take this fight. But we're not on here to talk about who wins the fight. We're on here to talk about money. So we have a strong value pick here on Alvey. I have him as a 200 underdog. Bovada, as of February 3rd, has him as a 300 underdog. I'm definitely going to be betting a full unit on this fight. I think Sam Alvey has the skills. Brendan Allen's coming in. He's coming in with no training camp. He's fought with no training camp before and lost. And he claims that he would never take a last minute fight again. But here we are. He saved the card. Thank you, Brendan Allen, for doing that. But I think picking Sam Alvey here is definitely worth the money. It's a strong value pick for me on Alvey. And as I said, one unit. Let's move on to the welterweights of the evening. We have Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Carlston Harris. This is going to be a very interesting fight. Shavkat Rakhmonov is destroying. He's undefeated in all of his fights. He's 2-0 in the UFC. He's looking like a machine. He looks like the next big thing. But Carlston Harris also is undefeated in the UFC. He's been on a quite the win streak too. So this is going to be good. We have Carlston Harris coming in with his kind of dirty boxing style and just heavy hitting, whereas Shavkat has more of a technical striking background here. Shavkat also looks very good on the ground, but unfortunately in his fights that I watched, a lot of him on the Russian scene, or I'm not sure exactly what organizations they were. It was all in Russians or a different language that I don't speak or can not recognize. So when I was watching his fights, he has a tendency to lose clinching situations. Carlston Harris, on the other hand, is very strong in the clinch, which is why I'm giving a slight edge to Harris here in this fight. I think he's going to be able to clinch with Rakhmonov and take the win via decision. I don't see a knockout coming, but it's definitely possible. These are two strong hitters, and Rakhmonov is very strong at the stand-up game. But I do think Harris will take this with his clinch game, with his clinch work. So let's move on to the pick. I have Harris as the slight favorite. Bovada has him as a pretty big underdog, so I'm definitely going to be taking this. I'm going to be betting half a unit. I don't know enough about Harris or Rakhmonov because they're both new to the UFC, so I'm not going to be doing a full unit on this. But I do think there's value here, and I'm definitely going to be putting half a unit here, and definitely looking forward to this fight. It's going to be amazing. All right, let's move on to the co-main event of the evening. We have our middleweights, Punahele Soriano versus Nick Maximov. This is going to be a great fight too. I've been very impressed with the last couple fights from Punahele, Soriano, and Maximov as well. Now with this fight, Maximov has some trouble with his clinch. He does not work in the clinch, and I think Soriano is going to take advantage of that. Soriano's a great wrestler, and I do think Maximov will have trouble in the clinch. He tends to put himself in bad spots when he's doing clinch work and ground game. So I think Soriano will take him in that aspect. I liked Soriano's movement. I like how he fakes his takedowns. He fakes shots. He throws some feints, but he does tend to wing punches, which I'm always afraid picking people who wing punches, because that leaves you open. That leaves you to the knockout. It's never good for your pick to get knocked out quick. But for this fight, I have Soriano winning. He is a huge favorite on the sportsbooks, so I'm going to say, for me, I'm going to be passing, and I do not suggest betting on this fight. But I do pick Soriano to win. All right, now let's move on to our main event of the evening. Middleweights, Jack Hermansson versus Sean Strickland. This is going to be a banger. Jack Hermansson has great striking on the outside. He's had trouble with southpaw strikers. Luckily, Strickland is not southpaw, so that shouldn't affect him too much here. He's very susceptible to feints. He likes to pat down the punches a lot, which can be good, but he pats down every single punch that comes at him, every single feint that comes at him, and I think that's going to leave him open here for Strickland to get one of his power punches in, because Strickland has deathly power. Jack Hermansson now is a beast on the ground, so if he can get it to the ground, that's where he wants this fight. That's where he wants every fight, pretty much. Sean Strickland is the pressure man. He's gonna keep the pressure. He's gonna keep moving forward. He will not stop moving forward on Hermansson. He's gonna throw. He likes to throw with his hands down. He likes to come in with power punches as well, but he has the gas tank to back it up. Strickland, I see him winning this fight. I see him coming, putting the pressure on Hermansson. Hermansson's gonna get tired. Strickland's not gonna get tired, and he's gonna take the win. I'm gonna say a knockout here. I think Strickland gets the knockout just because Hermansson tends to get hit a lot in his fights. So with that being said, let's move on to our looking at our bets. I'm going to be passing on this fight. Sean Strickland is just too big of a favorite here, and I don't think it's worth putting some money on this unless you're stringing him in for a parlay. I don't think it's going to be a parlay killer. I think he takes this fight. All right, so let's move on to a recap of our picks and bets for tonight. We have Julian Erosa versus Steven Peterson. We picked Erosa to win, and we are going to pass on that bet. Tresean Gore versus Bryan battle. We have Gore to win, and we're going to take a quarter of a unit on Bryan battle. With Sam Alvey versus Brendan Allen, we have Brendan Allen winning, and we're going to take a unit on Sam Alvey to win. For Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Carlston Harris, we're going to pick Harris to win, and we're putting half a unit on Harris. With Punahele Soriano versus Nick Maximov, we picked Soriano to win, and we're passing on that bet. And with Hermansson versus Sean Strickland, we're taking Strickland, and we're passing on that bet as well. All right, that does it for us this week. Thank you guys for watching Oni's Fight Picks. You can find me on Twitter at OniPicks. Please go ahead and like and subscribe to this video if you liked it. It helps out a lot. I will see you guys on the 10th for our next video for UFC 271, Adesanya versus Whitaker. Thanks again, and have a good night.